Well, it's late June in Middle Tennessee. It is hot as blazes here. We've been in the 90s for at least a couple of weeks. We have a couple of more weeks, and then I think we get a break down into the high 80s. So I'm actually looking forward to that, which is crazy to say. Welcome to Garden Preserve. I'm Carter, and I'm so glad you're here today. So I thought we'd take a morning walk through the garden because it is just too hot to do it any other time. It'll be in shade, but I think that'll be absolutely lovely. I have a little bit of harvesting to do. I want to tell you about a harvest we did yesterday. And I have a few more things I'm going to do some succession planting with. So we'll try to get all of that done today. So before we head down to the garden, we are up on my balcony right now, and I want to just show you kind of an overview of what's going on in the garden because I have had some shade cloth up for the past couple weeks. Our UV index has been between 8 and 10 every day, and that's brutal on us. That's brutal on our tomatoes and peppers and anything else we may have out there that is really sensitive to that just wicked UV rays from the sun. So I want to show you how I'm trying to protect some of my plants that are in the spots that get the worst of the afternoon sun. So let's take a look over here. You can see that first bed on the right has a shade cloth. This is how we figured out it worked out well last year. Last year I didn't get it up in time, and I had an awful lot of sun scald and several plants that withered in that bed. So I got it up at the first sign of 90-degree temperatures this year. So that is a pepper bed, and everybody says peppers love the heat, yada yada yada, and they do. And trust me, it is still hot under there. But what they don't love is the sun scald. So I have them protected as best I can. And then you'll see a bed back there, that back bed right there. You'll see that there is essentially a bug netting on that, but really what it is deer netting. Those are my sweet potatoes. So we'll go take a look. And then let's head over to this side. See, there is another one of my black shade cloths. That is my tomato bed. So they are very happy. I'll show you, I already have a case of sun scald down there. And then over to the left, you see two clumps of the bug netting, but it's really to keep the birds away from my blackberries. So yeah, I guess it works okay. I've had more berries this year than I have in the past, but oh my goodness, I can actually see a bird or a chipmunk or something in there right now. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, flitting around eating my blackberries. So not working perfectly, I'd have to say. We've had these blackberry bushes for 3 years, and they've always produced. However, the birds have always beat us to them. The birds, I guess the chipmunks, bunnies, I don't even know. This year, we have the best shot, I think, of getting a decent amount of blackberries. I pick them as they come on and, generally eat them in the garden because I don't have great production on my cherry tomatoes yet, which is my usual garden snack. But these are doing okay. So I just chased a squirrel, or a chipmunk rather, and a bird out of here. So I'm not sure if I'm really going to win in the end, but I am doing the best I can to fight it. You can see though that they have taken many a berry. They got those, I did not. This bush is also really loaded down, and it looks like I have some sun scald on these leaves. So I'll have to see what I can do about that. I don't have another shade cloth, and I'm not sure I want a shade cloth on my berries, but we'll see what I can do there. See, we're going to have a ton of them if we actually get to eat them. These are very small berries. I had a few plants that have very large berries, and those have been fantastic. Take a look at the apple trees. We had blooms on these early this spring, and then we got a freeze, and then we had no blooms. so there won't be any apples this year. I'm hoping next year that these guys will be ready to give us some apples. My basil is going wild. I have harvested this so much. I cannot even tell you how many rounds I have done in the freeze dryer of basil, and I'm thrilled with that. I have dill Up there, it is ready to go, saying, you know, where are the cucumbers? We need to be pickled. So my cucumbers, as you'll see, are nowhere near ready. This area of the garden over here gets so much abuse from the afternoon heat. It's like the sun clears my house and just boom. So I do have the shade tarp up here, and that's really helped quite a bit, but I wanted to show you a couple of casualties really from this. This is the early wonder tomato. I think it's 55 days to maturity. And I thought, well, I'll put it here, not thinking, it would still be around when we had, all those days in the 90 degrees. But anyway, we do, and it looks a little worse for wear. So I've actually started a few more early wonder plants that I hope will be kind of a round two of some determinate tomatoes for us. We'll see. These are its first tomatoes, and I just don't know if it's really going to be worth planting or if I just did it a disservice by putting it in this prime #1 spot. So we'll see. And in this bed here beside me, I have a bunch of determinate plants here, and I wanted to show you some sun scald. So apparently I didn't get my tarps on quite soon enough. So I have a couple of tomatoes that have some bad sun scald on them. So let's take a peek underneath the shade cloth. I hope you can see all those beautiful tomatoes. I have some great fruit set under here. I have some nice big tomatoes. These are all of my determinate slicing tomatoes. And I'm really thrilled with what I'm seeing so far. I have a couple starting to ripen. Of course, that one I just pulled with the sunburn. But I do have a little bit of bug damage, worm damage. I am starting to see some blight, so I went through yesterday again and did another pruning. So I'm just hoping to kind of get these through till they can ripen. So I have a double row of onions down here too. They are looking a little worse for wear. I have a couple where the necks are starting to fold over and they're actually ready. Unfortunately, all of the heavy rains and hail and everything else has really brutalized my onions this year, so I'm not going to have a great crop. But I do have some that are starting to look pretty good, particularly in this bed, and I think they're really appreciating the protection from the sun as well. So this barrel full of peppers here really excites me. I have never put peppers over on this side. We are kind of right behind that tomato that is being brutalized by the sun. It's a little more shade back in here, but it does get plenty of afternoon sun. I have peppers everywhere. That is a blazing banana pepper. That's like a giant Hungarian wax pepper. And it's just loaded down with them, absolutely loaded down. Behind this, I have some Santa Fe Grand peppers. Those are already starting to change colors for me. If you don't know Santa Fe Grand, they are great pickling peppers. And they are terrific to mix with something like a banana pepper, whether it's a sweet banana pepper or a hot banana pepper, and give you that beautiful color mix in the jar that I really appreciate. So I have a couple of those, and they are just crazy loaded down with peppers. So far we're looking like a pretty decent pepper year, although I will say that I'm not getting nearly as many jalapenos as I'm used to getting, so we'll see about that. So I hope that I'm able to cut around this, but we are battling a chainsaw a couple doors down. So this bed behind me up until yesterday was the potato bed, and we ended up digging that yesterday, so I'll put in some clips of this. I ended up with 24.2 pounds of potatoes, which is not bad. I think I started with 8 pounds, so a 3 times multiple. I would have preferred at least a 5 times multiple, but it is what it is, and I'm happy to have them. I have 4 different varieties, 3 I'd never grown before. So I'm excited to have all of those potatoes, and I'm also excited to have them out of the ground so I can go ahead and turn over this bed and get a succession planting going of a couple of different things. So I have been working on this. These are the National Pickling Cucumber. I don't have one of those planted yet. I have had, here's another Beta Alpha cucumber. I do have one of these. This one's actually going over there. I've had a bunny who has been just sawing down every cucumber I put in the ground. So I have a little garden cloche that I hope is going to thwart his efforts there. I have, let me see, what else do I have? Oh, this is a honey nut. Now normally I would put this is a small butternut squash. Normally I would put this on a trellis, and I do have a couple on the trellis over there, but this is a back bed where none of my neighbors is really going to see it enough to care that it just kind of flows all over, and that's really one of the reasons I put the potatoes here, because you know they do not look so lovely once they get close to being ready to harvest. So let's see what else is going in here. I have a couple of, well, I have several honey nuts. And then I wanted to show you, I'm not ready to plant these out yet, but this is a round 2 of those Early Wonder tomatoes. I have a couple of them that are looking good. I need to thin this one. Yeah, so I think those will be ready for me in another 3 or 4 weeks. And I have been raising these outside. So I just have them up on my deck where we started this to keep them away from whatever, whatever may attack them. So they've been doing really well up there. My squash has also been out. So again, I don't have a hardening off period that I need to worry about. So I'm going to get several of these planted today and get this bed. It needs to be re-amended. Clearly it needs to be kind of straightened out. It was one of those, it was a very hot day and we were so tired by the time we finished this bed. We didn't clean up all of the potato branches. It's just kind of a mess. So I have a lot of cleanup to do today and over the weekend, but hopefully that'll get done. All right, this is the back side of that cover tomato bed I showed you. And these are all indeterminates. And I wanted to show you how wonderfully they are doing. I'm really, really pleased with what I see in here so far. I have lots of nice big green tomatoes being set. I also have these beautiful zinnias. Now, I don't normally plant flowers in my garden because I don't do a great job with them, but I am just loving the zinnias. Absolutely loving them. They're beautiful. Now that I wanted you to see what happened to my marigold. See that guy? See that guy over there? Something is coming through and just, I don't know, eating, well, they're not really eating the top half, but they're definitely breaking my marigold, and they have done that as well with a couple other flowers in the garden. But look at this fruit set. I'm so pleased with this. So up here I have Brandy Boy, which is a hybrid of the Brandywine Pink. I have Dr. Witchies. I have German Johnson. And I think that's it. Okay, now this is the craziest thing I have ever seen. So look at this little cluster of tomatoes here. Looks great, right? There's another cluster back here. These are some, you know, covered in ants, but a decent sized cluster of tomatoes. But you know what? Here's the tag. Isis candy. That is not an Isis candy tomato. I have grown Isis candy once before, and it, if you don't know, is a true cherry tomato. And these seeds came out of the exact same package that I grew from before, and that one did turn out to be an Isis candy, but what the heck is that? So that has been so surprising to me. I really don't know what to think about that. So over here I have probably my favorite cherry tomato of the last few years. That's the Sun Peach. So I'm really excited that that one seems to be doing really well next to this crazy not Isis candy, right? And then I told you early in the season that I was going to plant loofah on this. This is the potato bed that these plants are in. Well, you know what? I had extra tomatoes and I just thought, well, I don't know how I don't plant cherry tomatoes if I have them. So I planted a couple more cherry tomatoes over here. They have been suffering because they have been in the bed with the potatoes, and there was some disease on the potatoes. And you know, in the same family, they compete for nutrients. And so I don't know, I'm gonna give these guys a really good fertilization today and hope that they will be fine and much happier with squash going in this bed instead of potatoes. Do you have an extras bed in your garden? This is my bed of extras. I have extra Roma tomatoes. I have extra determinate slicers. I had in here, which apparently I must have planted for the bunny, some spinach and Swiss chard and kale, and he's just kind of mowed He mowed down the spinach first, and then he went to kale, and now he's starting to work on the Swiss chard, which is fine. It's time for that to be done anyway. I'm leaving it here in the hopes that he will start leaving my cucumbers alone, my tomatoes alone. He's eaten now 4 tomatoes. He comes and he eats half a tomato, leaves it. By the next day, that half a tomato is gone and another one is down there. He doesn't care whether it's green or starting to ripen. So that's starting to get a little frustrating for me. As cute as he is, I'm a little annoyed with his munching habits. He took all the strawberries and the spinach, and now he's going after the tomatoes. So we'll see. I don't mind sharing with him, but my goodness, he needs to know when to stop, right? Well, this bed looks like a whole lot of craziness, doesn't it? And truth be told, it is filled with weeds. I used this year black cow, which I know that other folks have had some big issues with black cow and it not being completely ready, completely composted down to put in the garden, and has burned the plants. Fortunately, I haven't had that, but it seems to have had a ton of weed seeds in it. I mean, just a ton. I've never battled weeds like this in my garden. So right now, the weeds have gotten the better of me simply because it's been so darn hot and so rainy. But this is one of the pepper beds and zinnia beds. But I wanted to take a look at the sunflowers here. As I said, I don't really plant a lot of flowers. I wanted to do a little bit better with that this year, particularly for these neighbors over here, because she has the most lovely flower garden ever. So I'm trying, I really am. But my sunflowers haven't done terribly well. I thought they were going to be a piece of cake. I thought they'd just sprout up and grow and everything was going to be fine. This one's gotten really tall. This is the same one. It's multiple heads. It's not very tall. I have some Mexican sunflowers that are just beautiful, but only one of them really got going and is producing flowers now. So if you have any advice on, well, on anything related to flowers in the garden, because I really am trying to do a better job with that. I have a bunch more started, mostly zinnias, because whatever it is that's eating my flowers is not touching the zinnias, thank heavens. But this is a pepper bed. I have more hot banana peppers here. This is, let me show you this one. This is the garden salsa, which is a really long jalapeno style pepper. It's a little bit less hot than the jalapeno, but that's what I'll be using with all of my salsa and pico this year. So that's kind of fun. I do have a couple of jalapenos, but as I mentioned, they're not producing quite as well as they did last year. So much noise this morning, so much noise. So these are a couple of my jalapenos. This is the Jedi, that's from Johnny's Seeds. I grew this last year, had great luck with it. Having a little less than great luck with it this year. This is Jalafuego. It's doing quite well. I've had a couple of harvests off this one plant so far, and as you can see, there are another 6 or so ready to go there. This one is another Jedi. Again, not doing quite as well as it did for me last year, but the Pekim is the big one that has done such an excellent job. So here's the Pekim. I just harvested him a couple days ago, but he's really been putting off just a ton of jalapenos for me. Now this is my poblano. I have 2 of them and they pretty much both look like this. And I don't know why I struggle so much with poblanos in my garden. So they are slow, they are not great producers for me, but I love them, so it's a little frustrating. Okay, so we're going to take a peek under the other shade cloth. This is at the other end of my garden. I have onions in the front, I have hot peppers down this front row, and the back 2 rows are sweet peppers. So this is a giant banana pepper, and this is an actual mild banana pepper. This is called Bounty Banana. And then here's another one of these blazing bananas. So I'm gonna have a ton of banana peppers, but they look exactly the same when you pick them. Exactly, so you can't tell what's hot, what's not. So they're just gonna go in one big batch of picked peppers, I think. I also am having, I don't know if you can see this, but can you see all these ants? I've never had an ant problem in here either. And I've got something with wings there as well. I don't know. I tell you what, moving from Georgia to Tennessee, I have all kinds of different issues here that I didn't have when we were in Georgia. So if you have some thoughts on the ants and whatever the heck it is with wings there, I'd love to hear them because I can't stand ants. It just makes me itch just looking at them. All right, we're on the back side of the bed where bugs everywhere. We're on the back side of the bed where I showed you the sunflowers. So this is where I'm intending to grow all of my pickles. This is a bait alpha cucumber and my winter squash. So this is angel hair. I have another angel hair here. This is the first one that I planted out here, and I'll give you a better look at it in a minute. It's the only one that took off because we had 4 inches of rain just after I sowed the seeds. So down on the other end here, I have some butternut squash, some baby butternut squash. It's called the 898 butternut. So I have a couple more bait alpha cucumbers that I'm going to plant in here today, and I'm going to use those garden cloches in the hopes I can keep the bunny from just obliterating them. I keep putting them in, they look great. Next morning I come out, they're gone. So we're going to try one more time and see if I can't outsmart a rabbit, which should be easier than it is. So I managed to get my sweet potato slips planted earlier this month, so I don't think you've seen this bed yet. I have it covered in the netting because I have a deer who just happens to love sweet potato greens. So I'm trying to do a better job monitoring them and protecting them this year than I did last year. So last year I ended up with no sweet potatoes because that deer just really ate down everything and they just didn't stand a chance. As you can see, I also have some wayward potatoes sprouting in here, but I'm hoping that this bed is going to be very successful for me this year because I got nothing last year. All right, we are in the paste tomato bed. So these are all of my Romas. I have 8 Romas in here. I think that 7 of them are red of different varieties and 1 is golden. So these were marigolds. They met the same fate as the marigolds over in the other tomato bed. I also have some cosmos in a couple of places in this bed, and they have been taken out as well by whatever it is. I'm looking across here at this bed, and I have a cosmos here on this corner and a cosmos on that corner, both of which they just get chopped off, and I can't figure out what the purpose is in doing that because they're leaving the tops behind. So it's not like they're eating my cosmos, but they are just not, they're not liking the cosmos, so they're chopping them all off. So we'll take a little look at some of the fruit set on these paste tomatoes. Reasonably happy with it. These are not getting particularly large yet, so I hope we have a good ways to go sizing up before they start turning. As you can see, all the plants are doing pretty well. Decent fruit set. I'm looking forward to having those available for canning. All right, I wanted to show you this. This is the bunny. That's the bunny who keeps doing that. So he'll come back today and he'll eat the other half of that, and he'll probably eat that ripening tomato as well. So I'm going to do what I can to maybe put an organza bag over that, and we'll see if he eats through it or not. They did last year on my strawberries, but you know, there's always hope, right? So that's a nice looking plant over there with those good sized Romas. And then I have some sweet peppers right over here that are actually starting to put on a decent number. A couple of sunflowers that are actually looking pretty good. So these are in my Roma tomato bed, and I just think that they're beautiful, popping their heads up above. So I would like to do more of this next year, so please just shower me with flower advice down below. And if you have any idea what is chopping off the top half of my cosmos and my marigolds, please give me your thoughts on that as well. So that's it for the June garden tour. It is looking, I don't know, kind of scary with all the weeds, with all the damage that's been done with the rain and the hail and the crazy heat. but it is starting to produce for me, and for that I'm ever so grateful. I am going to get that old potato bed replanted today, get it amended, replanted. I'm going to fertilize the heck out of those cherry tomatoes down there in hopes that they will forgive me for putting them in the bed with the potatoes. And I'm going to get the squash and the cucumbers. I'm going to get a second round of those going in that bed, and we're just going to let them blow all over the place, and we'll see what happens. I'm also going to try again with the bait alpha over here. I have one growing now, but ideally I'd like to have 2 or 3. So I'm going to see if I can put some cloches over those and keep the bunny or whatever it is from just mowing them down. If you have any ideas on how to save my flowers from whatever it is, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you have any idea on those ants, I never had an ant problem in my little garden in Atlanta, and I haven't had one here yet either, but this year they seem to be all over the place. There were a ton of them in the potato bed, and I need to address it because all I feel is creepy crawlies every time I look at them. So if you have any ideas there, please let me know. I will see you next month in the garden for the July garden tour. I don't know what we'll be harvesting at that point. I should have, I guess, the onions out. As I mentioned, I don't think it's going to be a tremendous year for the onions. Oh, and I should tell you that I also pulled the garlic out last week, I think, and I did have a terrible garlic harvest this year. And again, it was the rain and the hail. I don't know. It was awful. I had music garlic planted, which was left over from my harvest last year, which was terrific. And it barely did anything. Several of them just didn't even form an individual close. And then I had some elephant garlic planted, which is very expensive to buy seed garlic for elephant garlic. And it really did not much of anything either. They just, the wind, we had so much wind, and then that hail beat them down, and they just really didn't stand a chance. So I'm very disappointed in that harvest this year. Hopefully next year will be better. I'll start over with some new seed garlic, and I don't know what I'm going to do to protect them from our weather here, because we get so windy and so rainy in the spring. I don't know. Thoughts on that as well would be greatly appreciated. This is still, even though I've been gardening in Tennessee in this particular garden for 3 years, there's still constantly new things that are coming up that I've never dealt with before in the old garden I had. So all of your thoughts would be most welcome. I'll leave you with a few harvest shots from, I know I'm going to get some peppers, and I may even go inside and pickle some hot peppers, so I'm excited about that. There are a couple of tomatoes I'm going to go ahead and pick to try to save from the bunny. And that's it. I hope you have a great week in the garden. I hope you have a great week getting ready to harvest whatever it is you may be harvesting these days. So enjoy your week. Thank you so much for being with me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Well, it is late June in Middle Tennessee, and it is hot as can be here. So we've been battling the heat and the chainsaw.